God calls us out of the grave by pouring out the Spirit of His Son into our hearts. That's Lazarus, come forth. He calls us out of the grave by pouring out the Spirit of the Son. He pours out the Spirit of the Son to bring about the death and the resurrection Jesus partook of in our hearts. He wants to circumcise our hearts from the life that's in the world that's dying. He's bringing about the same thing in us where we go to the cross, but it happens in our hearts. And He sees the only way we go into the cross is if we think life is found there. It's like Glenn said when we were talking the other day. He said, oh, well, that makes sense because, who wants anything to do with the cross? It's just torture and pain. Life. It's life. He wants to circumcise our hearts from the life that's dying. He wants to cause us to lay down the death that's in the world. God's will is for you to lay down the life that's subject to corruption. That was God's will in Gethsemane, for Jesus to lay down the life that's subject to corruption. That's His will for you. This flesh doesn't want that. This flesh will fight tooth and nail not to die. You see what flesh does when it's going to die? It fights tooth and nail. Don't it? So God poured out the Spirit of faith that was in Jesus. He poured out the Spirit of giving up the ghost. The Spirit of giving up the ghost was poured out on all flesh. So that Spirit could dwell in us and bring about something in us where we do the same thing that Jesus did on the cross. Where we see the life we have from the world as being unto death. We look at the life we have from the world and we don't see the laying down of that life as being unto death, but we see the laying down of the life we have from the world as being unto life.